Thank you and welcome everyone to this product showcase presented by StratusLIVE Business Intelligence. Business Intelligence is taking on an increased role in the nonprofit executive suite by leveraging the latest tools and skill sets to find new ways to save time, optimize impact, and raise more money. This session will look at how to discover, model, analyze, and visualize large volumes of data for greater impact. We are fortunate today to have two of StratusLIVE's experts with us. Jim Finari is co-founder and CEO of StratusLIVE. He has more than 25 years of experience in finance and technology management in nonprofit, transportation, and financial and technical services industries. Most recently, Jim was president and CEO of Compass Technology, a leading provider of integrated CRM solutions to the nonprofit sector. Joining Jim is Michael Buller, who is a veteran database administrator and leading expert in delivering data warehouse to a number of database platforms such as SQL, SAS, SSRS, and Master Data Services. He is a seasoned dynamic CRM developer and brings vast experience in state-of-the-art technology solutions. To begin our session, Jim.
Thank you, John, and welcome to our audience from around the country. It's good to have you with us today. We appreciate the chance, especially to explore this important topic, business intelligence and analytics. And we believe the topic is very timely for a number of reasons. In today's agenda, we do plan to look first at the important marketplace trends at a macro level. We would call those the mega trends, if you will. And here I'm referring to trends that are affecting all markets, not just the nonprofit market, including commercial, public sector, and others. And so the question is, why is business intelligence and analytics important, and why now? What is driving the interest and the demand now? Next, we'll explore just a few reasons why business intelligence and analytics is important to nonprofit organizations, and that's what we're all about, and particularly the fundraising activities within our nonprofits. Third, we're going to look at a topic that, according to most surveys, is the major challenge to effective analytics and business intelligence, and that relates to the increase of what we call data silos within our companies, what we also call point solutions that might exist outside of your primary constituent database or application. So it's all about that problem of point solutions and data silos. A modern commercial architecture, as we'll show, is really the constituent-centric platform, and it's critical to our success in business intelligence. And then finally, we're going to turn to Michael Buller, who's going to lead us through a demonstration of our analytics toolset, which is based on the Microsoft PowerView product, a product that's been recently released by Microsoft for business intelligence and analytics, and is included in our product suite. And Michael's prepared several common scenarios around basic analytical tasks. And then finally, we're going to have a Q&A session open to the audience. So let's begin with the obvious. You know, when Gartner conducted this year's survey of approximately 2,400 CIOs across 77 countries, what were the results? What did they find? Well, they found that the number one priority on the minds of these CIOs is business intelligence and analytics. Now, this means that their single most important technology initiative is finding and applying business intelligence solutions in their organizations. Well, why is that? What are the reasons? Well, we think it's related, and most of the experts would say it's related to the incredible increase, the explosion, if you will, of digital data and information. And, you know, scientists tell us today that the world's information is doubling every 18 months. And some of these other statistics are just mind-boggling. Yep, every minute, and yes, that is every 60 seconds, we create over 200 million email messages, over 600,000 content posts on Facebook, 100,000 tweets, and the list kind of goes on and on. So we're dealing with this huge increase in digital information, and it's becoming more and more integrated or connected, if you will, into daily life for both individuals and for businesses and organizations. So along this same theme, our constituents are going mobile and using mobile devices. You know, 51% of all email is now opened on a mobile device. And these constituents are using apps, they're conducting transactions, they're interacting and communicating, and they're consuming information on these devices to the current tune or at the current rate of 1.5 million terabytes of traffic per month. Obviously, that's a lot. I can't really even imagine how much that is, and technology is my business. But look at the projected increase over the next 3 years. These are exponential increases. So our constituents are generating data, and lots of it. So to understand your constituents, we think you need to understand the data. All of it? No. Obviously, we're not suggesting that all of this data, all of these email messages, all of the Facebook content is relevant to your donor engagement and development efforts. However, some of it is, and more of it likely will be. And the point we're making here is that we really have no hope of making sense of all this data, whether it's unstructured or structured data, without these modern business intelligence and analytical tools. And these tools need to be capable of rapidly processing very high volumes. Now, to address the data challenges, those of us in the software industry are focused on improving business intelligence and analytical tools. Among some of the primary commercial vendors, we're seeing better capabilities at lower price points. Microsoft has the most widely used and widely adopted tool set according to Forrester Research. And they're generally recognized as well as one of the least costly among the top 5 or 6 that are listed here. For example, we'll be demonstrating today our tool of choice, which is Microsoft's PowerView product. And that was recently released and is available as a free downloadable add-in in Excel. So you can download that from the web, or if you purchase Excel 2013, it comes standard with the product. Well, so now we come to the so what question. What should BI and analytical capabilities do for my organization? How do they help? So in a comprehensive study of about 400 large companies, Bain Consulting found a number of clear benefits and results among companies that were adopting advanced analytics and BI capabilities. And these organizations tended to outperform their peer companies by wide margins in the following ways. They were 5 times more likely to make faster decisions. They were 3 times more likely to execute as intended, that is, according to plan, versus maybe according to the dartboard or guesstimation. And they were 2 times more likely to improve their financial performance. So, you know, in our view, this is the real objective. It's to focus your fundraising. And that focus should mean faster, data-driven, according to plan, with improved financial results. And that really is the object. So let's quickly turn to some, just a few specifics about business intelligence for fundraising organizations. You know, we can apply, and we have applied, and you are, I'm certain, applying a number of key focus areas and looking at analytics and metrics so forth in our nonprofit organizations. Now, we've listed a few of the more obvious areas that are common to the industry. Certainly areas like engagement health, what we call capacity analysis, which maybe traditionally has been referred to as wealth screening, churn management in the sense of both predictive and renewals, along the churn continuum. All these outcomes that could be related to our cultivation and moves management processes. And then, of course, finally, is certainly last but not least, the major area for many of us in the nonprofit world is analyzing and measuring our campaign performance, regardless of whether those campaigns are delivered via a direct channel, maybe direct response, direct mail, or via the web, or perhaps via the workplace in workplace campaigns. But let's just drill down a bit in this last one in campaign performance and look just below the surface at some specifics. So analytics is, in the end, all about measuring and then optimizing. And we use analytics to measure and establish a set of metrics. Some of the more common metrics that we would work with and that you're working with in fundraising apply to campaign performance, regardless of channel or tactics. Those would be ROI-based, things like revenue, cost, net income, and certainly ROI in the end. Other key metrics might be average gift amount or per capita giving. And, of course, the impact of these campaigns on a constituent's lifetime value, perhaps important most of all. And then we might choose to optimize a number of tactics, maybe using insights that we gather from data and from analytics that are provided to us through testing. And we could be changing the channel mix. We could be adjusting or optimizing the segmentation and personalization treatments, and maybe the activity or the campaign appeal mix. All of these are areas in which we can optimize and use the insights gathered to further refine and improve our performance. But the bottom line here is that a good analytics and business solution for nonprofit fundraisers should make visible these key metrics and should provide the tools for analysis, discovery, testing, and modeling. Ultimately, we want these metrics and decision models to guide our decisions either in real time or very near of real time. So, moving on, as we mentioned earlier in our discussion about the explosion of digital data, we're faced with a much more holistic set of information about our constituents today. In the past, we focused a lot of effort on constituent demographic information, you see there in the blue, and on their campaign responses and transactions. So it was really about constituents and demographics and transactions, and of course the prevailing analytical model has been RFM analysis, which is recency, frequency, and monetary analysis. But now, we have access to a much broader set of data and attributes, again, as we discussed before. And this data might be collected and entered, but the more common method is probably information enrichment services, where we can connect with third parties and get information about cause-concept affinities, about advocacy, about geolocation clustering, and so forth. So all of these are enrichment or enriched data that should be in our constituent database and thus allow us then to move beyond the basic RFM models. So before we move to the demonstration with Michael, we thought it might be good just to pause and give you a snapshot of the StratusLIVE constituent application and the information architecture. You'll see on the right side the primary constituent CRM application there under Fundraising CRM. In the lower mid-quadrant, you'll see the Enterprise Data Warehouse, and this is certainly key to the business intelligence strategy. In the upper mid-quadrant, you'll see the data-driven marketing solution and application. And then on the left side, the business intelligence application for discovery and analysis, which is the tool that we're going to look at today. Now, the first really important architectural objective is to make all of this analytical data that's in the enterprise warehouse available in a context-relevant manner, and that is throughout the application suite, so that The enterprise data warehouse and the relevant information and analytics can be surfaced in CRM. It can be surfaced in the marketing, the data-driven marketing app, and in the business intelligence toolset, such as Power View, as we'll see today. The second important architectural objective is the idea that we stressed earlier, that we referred to around this challenge of avoiding information silos, data silos, and point solutions. So we chose and selected to build our enterprise architecture on the Microsoft commercial platform stack, and that's Dynamics CRM from Microsoft. That's the SQL Server database and analysis services, and that's also the Power BI Power View product suite for business intelligence. So that's just a brief look at the architecture, and without any further ado, we want to move on to our demonstration, and I'm going to introduce to you Michael Buller, who's the Technical Product Manager for our Business Intelligence Solutions at StratusLIVE for the demonstration. Good afternoon, Michael.
All right, thank you, Jim. All right. Here we go. Okay, let's get started. All right, so what I have on the screen here that we're looking at is a campaign RM analysis. That's where I have the recency and monetary values of a relatively small campaign for our system. So 12 million pieces of mail and their response rates. And so up in the top section here, you can see the recency ranges. And per the adage, the people who are most likely to give this are the most recent and the most frequent, right? And so this is holding true. We can actually see the 0 to 3 month givers contributed about $2.9 million, and that's from a result of a little over 4 million pieces there. So I'm already in the Power View, and I'm showing you the result of connecting to the StratusLIVE Business Intelligence platform, and the data is already streaming to the screen here, so it's kind of live.
So what are we seeing over on the right side there, Michael? It says Power View Fields.
Yeah, so that's our data warehouse that we've built, and we've exposed those fields of our entities and attributes, and that's over 2,000 attributes underneath those entities there that we can actually drag and drop and do ad hoc recording on our Power View.
Okay, and that's what you're going to be showing today, the Power View product that we're looking at here, accessing the data warehouse and the cubes with all of this relevant constituent and marketing data.
That's right, yep. And we're going to be showing it and how quickly it responds and how easy it is to actually build these things. Yep. And so from this perspective, we're actually able to see these things, but really we want to see year-over-year analysis. And so one of the things that we can do with Power View here is we can actually click on this chart, and whenever I click on the chart, it's going to filter the data, real time. So I'm clicking on 2013, and it's really quick. You didn't actually see it change, but that just took 6 million of those pieces of mail right out of the door. And it switched over the perspective there, so I can see how 2013 did on a recency and monetary value. And then if I want to see 2012, it's as easy as just clicking the rest of the chart there. So, and then if I want to bring it all back, just click right out here, and there it is. It comes back. So this isn't actually all that hard to build.
So that's live filtering. Just by clicking on the chart and the object, you're filtering the data on the screen.
Right.
Now, you have another way to filter that, correct? You have a panel there that you can expose, right?
Yep. So before we actually began, I pre-filtered some of the data, and so what we're seeing is a filters pane here. And see what I've done is actually looked for the campaign periods of 2012 and 2013 already, but it has access to all years of all your data. That's the beauty of the data warehouse. We can actually collect data overall for historic data analysis as well. And then what I did is I'm looking because, in this analysis, I'm getting ready to actually perform an appeal. So I limited my category to the appeals.
So this is kind of direct response type of campaign. So right. This is a direct mail set of campaigns across 2 years, 2012, 2013. And again, you had many other appeal types, renewals, acknowledgments, perhaps workplace, but this is specifically appeal-related because of that filter, correct?
Right. Okay. So that just automatically filtered it. So that's the type of data that I was looking for this analysis. But we can do all kinds of analysis in here. So another example of some of the analysis that we've done is this is a 60-day appeal response chart. And so what I've done is I actually brought the data to the screen for a specific campaign activity that we sent out the door, and we're trying to see which one of our testing groups actually won out, so that we know from our tactical standpoint which message or treatment package or product offer or other is winning. And so if you see on the bottom there, I sent out 6 different packaging, and I'm seeing that the panel F is actually winning in the Mid-Atlantic region right now. And I can see that just by clicking on these tiles up on top, how that actually changes for the regions of the U.S. as I've divided it. And so as I click across here, I can see that F was actually the winner, regardless of where we're at in the U.S.
So this tile, Michael, is like another way to filter the data that's on the screen. We were clicking on the chart object. This is a tile object that allows you to filter by region then.
Right.
Okay.
So what's happening right there real quick is it's just like if you built up the filters and you were just flipping between them, but it makes it a lot easier. It just presents it on the screen here, and we can actually click through, and it just real time changes the same view. So instead of having to build and run those static reports over and over again and actually flip the parameters to get it to reload, it just loads real time for you.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's good, but really the thing that we want to know is how hard is this to do? There's a lot of people on the call here who's going to want to do this. So
yeah.
let's build one.
So let's build one.
Yeah. So I'm going to open up my model here. Should give me a blank canvas. Okay. All right. I'm creating a campaign, RM analysis. Okay. And so the first thing I'm going to want to do is actually filter my data for the data that I'm looking for. And so before, as we saw, we had the campaign periods filtered down. So it goes out, grabs all the years of data. I'm looking for 2012 and 2013. Now this is really cool. What will happen is the campaign, whenever I bring it on, it actually takes that filter into account. So it already filtered all those campaigns, and it might be hard to see there on the presentation, but you can actually see that there's the appeals, the renewals, cover wraps, and a couple other campaigns in here. Now I'm just looking for one category. And so I can actually type in this box, appeal, and you'll see it filter down that list, and I can actually start checking these check boxes. But that could get tedious. And so PowerView gives us a advanced filter mode. And so I can flip over that. And so I can say I'm looking for something that contains. And so I'm looking for contains appeal. If I type in appeal here and hit enter, it'll apply that. And so now I'm looking at the appeals campaign for 2012 and 2013. Yep. So now whatever I drag on the canvas over here on the left here will automatically take those filters into account. Okay. So we'll shrink that away so we don't see that anymore. I'm going to go grab campaign period and bring it on the screen. And so you see it only shows 2012 and 2013. Even though we had over 20 years of data in here, it's going to filter that down. Mm-hmm. Then I'm going to go grab the revenue to apply it to it.
So this is one of the key metrics that we're tracking then in the warehouse at many different levels, this being campaign period.
Right. Yep. Okay. So this is just showing revenue by period. Right there on the screen, over the 12 million pieces amount that went out the door in their response. That's $7 million. Now that's interesting in itself, but let's change it into a chart. So I click on that chart. We'll resize it a little bit, and we can actually drag this around. And so we're kind of trying to make it look like a little bit of a dashboard there. And so there it is on the bottom left, or bottom right, sorry. Mm-hmm. And then we're going to build up that recency chart. So let's grab the recency, bring it on the screen. I'll resize it a little bit. And then we'll go grab some of those other metrics that you talked about there in your presentation. We want meld.
Mm-hmm.
That shows how many pieces were melded to each one of the recency ranges there.
And that's the recency ranges, Michael, are the range in which the constituent was at the time of the mailing, correct?
Right.
The time of the campaign activity.
Right. We can, and in this analysis, that's right, Jim. Yep. We can actually, because we're trying to do we look back over history and see typically how does the people who give in the 0 to 3 month range respond, so that when I look at my contacts who are currently in the 0 to 3 month, I can predict how they're going to respond based on our historical analysis.
Okay.
Yep. And so we can increase the font. We'll just hit the up arrow there, and you can actually see it a little better.
So again, we're in Excel here, so all of the formatting and the typical things that you can do in Excel that applies to the Power View charts and dashboards, right?
Yeah, that's the best thing about it. It is in Excel, and so anything you can do there. Sorting, so we'll want to sort by revenue. Let's check that out. So there you go. So we have it formatted, and so now we want monetary. So instead of repeating that drag and drop there, you can actually copy and paste. So I'm just going to copy, paste. There it is. That chart came up. Drag it down. Now, I see some overlap here, so I'm going to get rid of some of these columns. So we'll get rid of that. We'll get rid of revenue. So we have meld and revenue. We still have the average gift up there. But you can see that, the totals still tie out just because I switched context there. And then I'm actually going to switch this recency over to monetary. So let's go grab that. Bring it up to the top. And we'll sort by revenue. Okay, so that didn't take long at all.
Okay, so we're seeing here that your $25 to $50 basically givers obviously were mailed the most and obviously generated the most amount of revenue then.
Yep, that's what you see there. Okay. Yeah, so the typical giver, over half of our givers are in the $25 to $50 range at the time of their gift.
And in this mark, again, about 12 million pieces of mail. We've analyzed upwards of hundreds of millions of pieces, correct?
Yeah, I think we field tested over 800 million pieces a month coming into our data warehouse. So we can handle the volume. This is a small one, but we can handle it.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is interesting from a campaign analysis standpoint, but there's other analysis we can do. We can actually, if we're going to go to a region, we can actually start analyzing that. And so say we're planning an event and we want to, so I've already built some of these filters here. We want to target the $100 to $500 constituent because we want to bring them up and try to get them to the $1,000 level. And so I'm looking in 2013 for all of my $100 to $500 givers in Connecticut because that's where I want to host my event. And I want to send some field reps there. So I need to give the field reps, a location where you need to go. Mm-hmm. Right, so I have those filters in place already, and so now what I want to do is start looking at, from a postal code standpoint, where are the people who gave these gifts, right? So I'll go to geography, grab my postal code, bring it on. So that's the list of those postal codes in the database there.
Now, is that just Connecticut, Michael? Because do you have a filter on now?
Yeah. So these filters, as I drag things on, will only be taking Connecticut.
Okay, great.
The things that have Connecticut has the flag.
Mm-hmm.
So. All right, and so we'll then go get the average gift and apply it to the table. Let's go ahead and get some more room. Go gift count, revenue. Okay, and then if I want to see a map of where these people are, because seeing zip codes doesn't really tell you where these people are. I need to physically see the map so I can see that they're located next to each other.
So what, Michael? If I wanted to know what was the highest average gift amount? I mean, it's just as simple as clicking to sort the. Okay,
yep.
Just did it.
There it is. 06010.
Yep.
Average gift 500. Now that's a single gift, but that one gift of 500, I can go meet with that person.
Okay.
That's fine.
So we want to map this then for.
Yep, so we'll just grab the postal code up on here. And so, in the past, if you wanted to do a map like this, you would have to go, get all the longitude and latitude put onto your data and get it, charted out. But I just took zip code out, and I'm going to click map. And it's going to start drawing all the data points. And then I can zoom in just by rolling my mouse here. See that?
So this is giving us a scatter map then of the contributions that came in by zip code, correct?
Right. So that's exactly where they came from, right? Now this is just the contribution in the sense of where it came from, but that doesn't tell me the size of the gift, right? And so what I actually want to do is make this resize based on the size of the gift. And I can do that by just dragging, for example, average gift size into the size section here, and it's going to resize. So that gives me a lot of information pretty quick. I can see clusters across the state here where these gifts are coming from, and I can actually go out and try to find those. And so there's my, you can see the big bubble there is also the one that came up to the top there. So I can see that, you know, they're in 06010. Now, who are these people? Well, how hard would it be to find that? Well, we can just go to our contacts. And there's over 8 million contacts in the system right now. So when I drag first name on here, it will go query all those first names and bring back the one that comes with that row. So I can actually see now that gift came from Marie in 06010. Okay. So this can be provided as to the field rep, and they can take this list and then go.
Okay, so if I literally this afternoon, if I wanted to send my field reps out with this name and address list, average gift amount, clustered around the zip code, then they could be on the road.
Right. Okay. Didn't take long at all.
Great. Okay.
All right, so that's PowerView and the StratusLIVE Business Intelligence platform.
So let me ask you a couple of questions, Michael, about PowerView and the BI. What about security?
Yeah, security is important. You know, the thing about PowerView that's really cool is it has the live refresh button up on top. And so that means that I can actually, you know, take this as a dashboard after I build these views and share it, you know, amongst my employees, and so that they can actually see the same view of data. Now, the issue there is, you know, I don't want them to see my data. I want them to see their data. Well, PowerView takes the security into account. So it takes your login and whenever I refresh, it's going to say, Michael Bowler is trying to get data. What does Michael Bowler have access to?
So it's going to honor the security and authorization model that's been implemented either in the CRM application. So most of this data is going to flow over either from CRM or from third-party services. Is that right?
Right. What we're looking at now is the data warehouse where we're collecting all that data, and it's actually taking, you know, your Active Directory and CRM security model in place. And the fields that we have available are you know, within perspectives. So you should only see the data that you're allowed to see, but you're also only going to see the data that's actually relevant to you. And so from a finance perspective, I'll see financial data, entities and attributes here. From a fundraising standpoint or campaign analysis, I'll see that.
Okay. Now, you mentioned that PowerView and you know, a lot of us use PowerPoints to go do presentations to boards and things like that, or maybe management meetings. What can we do there?
Well, PowerView also gives you another option for how you can expose these views. And so if you're using SharePoint as an example, you can expose your PowerView models out via SharePoint, and then you can expose it on your website, or you can load it right inside of PowerPoint. And so while you're on a PowerPoint slide, you can have this same slide that you're looking at here in front of your board. And then it gives you a refresh button. If you wanted to show them, you know, exactly right now how much money had come in, you can actually click the refresh button right there in PowerPoint while you're giving the presentation and show it to them.
So wait a minute. Are you saying that I could click this chart from a PowerPoint presentation and it's going to refresh in real time?
Right. So no more static slides. You can actually have your data working for you in front of the people you're giving a presentation to, and actually.
So all those questions we get from the board and the management team, we can drill in the middle of the meeting with the tool.
Right. So instead of having 50 slides with every possible different, you know, way of looking at the data, so that you can, you know, find the answer to the one question, and oh, by the way, if you forgot one, how do you answer it? Show it. No, you don't have to do that anymore. It's right here.
Great. Okay.
Okay. All right. It looks like we have some questions.
Thank you very much, Jim and Michael, for a very informative presentation. We have several good questions, and the first one seems to indicate people are wondering, is there a number of records or a minimum number of records or donors an organization needs to have before they consider a business intelligence system?
Well, that's a great question, good question. You know, some would argue that yes, that many of the tools that are native to either our CRM or donor management applications work fine on small record sets. The problem is that definition of small and large seems to be changing, by the day and by the minute, particularly as we collect a lot of additional information, enrichment information about those constituents. But generally speaking, you'll want your organization to be moving up some, whether that count might be 25,000 donors, 50,000 donors, 100,000. Certainly that bears some analysis and some research. But, the fundamental discipline of analytics around these metrics, those are the types of things that we want to be implementing regardless of the size of our database.
The kinds of organizations that would find business intelligence to be practical are not necessarily direct mail driven. A question came in is if you have a number of donors or volunteers or special events participants, would that work as well too?
Certainly. In fact, the constituents, as they're stored in the data warehouse, they could have minimal campaign activity or direct response activity, but they could have loads of volunteer activity, event attendance, product orders, premiums that have been sent to them, other marketing interactions, and that certainly is relevant as we develop our engagement model. So, no, it's not just financial data by any means.
Great. Jim, this question is for you. Can you Power View to combine data from two sources together?
Yeah, and that's actually what we're doing. Inside of the data warehouse there, Power View is actually just a presentation layer over the top of the data warehouse. And so what we're looking at in the data warehouse is a combination of a lot of different data sources. Now, it goes through our routines to pull that data together. If you just wanted to use Power View by itself, the data can be presented on the same slide, but you wouldn't get the same interaction where if I click a chart, all the other things filter. So when we pull it into the data warehouse, we actually combine those things together for you and actually make it work together like that. Yeah.
Michael, this question is for you. Is the question about the analytics part is how do you cooperate a map after dragging a zip code into it? How does that work?
Well, so what happens is it actually takes a round trip out to the Microsoft Bing service and actually geocodes those real time just by clicking that map button in Excel. So you don't have to have any subscription or anything like that. It just does it. But that's what happens is it takes that round trip up there. Yeah.
This is an interesting question and one that I think I understand, and that is, does an organization have to have a particular kind of server or platform to be able to handle business intelligence operations?
No, John. In fact, our solution, again, is one that we're delivering from the cloud via the Internet. So we're handling the hosting services and a lot of the investment that's required to get these larger servers underneath the business intelligence solution. There are some organizations that have that capability and that have large premise installations, and certainly they could make use of it. But the whole idea of the model is to have it delivered via the cloud. So you could simply, point your Power View tool in Excel to the warehouses and the databases that we would expose to you, as a customer of StratusLIVE, and get that from the cloud.
You had mentioned in one of your earlier slides how business intelligence helps measure the impact of initiatives on engagement health. Can you explain a little bit more about what engagement health is?
Sure. Engagement health is an up-and-coming metric, I think, and important that, again, is not necessarily related to financial transactions. And this goes to the earlier question about suppose we have constituents that are engaging with us in other means, maybe volunteering, maybe events, attending events, any number of non-financial transactions. It could be as simple as just they're communicating with us, that, we're developing some type of interaction via the web, via website visit. And so that index can be developed and incremented based on a constituent's participation in some of those activities. There's not a standard model for engagement health, but it's the kind of thing that each organization should be looking at based on their cost concepts, the channels that are employed, the various campaigns and activities, and perhaps developing a good metric on what do we view as a healthy set of engagement situations.
Jim, this question is for you. Is your system able to develop sort of a hologram on donor profiles and their interests? So, for instance, if a direct mail organization finds their average donor is a woman over the age of 54, would business intelligence help you prospect to other people with similar demographic characteristics or create new potential prospect bases?
Yeah, John, let me pass that to Michael. That's what Michael's working on with the learning algorithms.
Yeah, we actually have, what you're describing there is a technology called data mining. And actually, I want to go actually show you. What happens is we can actually learn from your data, but we'll let the servers do that. And so, just like Amazon, those who bought also bought, what they're doing is constantly analyzing all that data back there. We do the same thing. So what we'll do is we'll pass in all those data attributes over the 2,000 data points into the system there. And what it will do is actually bring exactly that out. And it'll say, this is your typical donor for each channel, for each campaign category, for your messaging, who's typically responds to this type of message, to the product. I mean, you can look at it at every different aspect and lots of different ways of getting at that same type of data because it changes. You can't say that this is the typical person who's going to attend my event and answer my email. But whenever you do this analysis, you'll get to that data. Yeah.
Great. I want to thank Jim Funari and Michael Buller for a great presentation on business intelligence, its increasing role in the executive suite of nonprofits and helping to match out a very productive and hopefully more informative future. Thank you again, Jim and Michael, for great presentations, and this concludes our session.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.